going on, Paulie? Compound
Nothing
coffee.
much, man. Nothing much. All good, man. What's happening? What are we doing? What's on the news today? Yo, by the way, you know what's funny? I talked about my rant the other day with on the TKO league and shit. You know what happened? What ended up happening?
What
The
happened?
TKO league. Ari Emanuel is leaving Endeavor. How's that? How's that for an added spice in there, huh? Ari Emanuel, because I mentioned Ari Emanuel the other day being involved with TKO and the Turkey controversy and everything. And Ari, I told you there's a rumor that Ari Emanuel's family, were Ergun terrorists and all this other stuff. But now Ari's out too, and I know that's a lot of political pull because Endeavor and Ari behind Endeavor was a lot of the power behind TKO. I mean, I feel like they lost a key piece of that tripod because it's basically Turkey, Dana, and Ari Emanuel. Now Ari's leaving Endeavor.
Basically, this video, this podcast, was a response to your rant last week. What have you heard from people?
I mean, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I've heard mostly positive stuff. I mean, people, nobody has the balls to actually say these kind of things. So, like, Paulie says it, and then they're like, "Oh, you got balls to do it," like, but they're not doing it. The media, be it in boxing or be it just in general, have no backbone. They're all spineless. They didn't have the balls to report on this, but they'll report on something that would be clickbait is usually like something they drool all over, So something like this could have been easily clickbait if they would have all covered it, and instead nobody wanted to touch it. It's kind of like the same thing of the reason we started Paulie TV, right? Is like back when I lost the Showtime job over that controversy, and nobody wanted to get the full story from me, so I had to basically try to put the full story out myself, and nobody wanted to cover it. So it was again, easily could be clickbaitable information when you cover something like that, and still they didn't want to cover it because they didn't want to jeopardize their ability to get credentials, no matter how spineless of a move that would have been. And they basically did the same thing again. Like people, I'm even getting compliments from people that didn't have the balls to say this stuff themselves, or put this out there themselves, But I'm also getting a lot of compliments from people who were genuinely didn't know, genuinely learned something, and I feel like the old gist of it was pretty positive from boxing in general. The fans I think appreciated having this put out there, information that I feel like people should know, and then there's your handful of characters that basically said, I noticed in a couple of comments, Paulie's only doing this because he's irrelevant and he's not gonna, and if they offer him a job, he would change his tune quick. I think when you have no spine and you have no character, like those kind of people, you couldn't imagine, somebody turning that kind of thing down. People, I think I got to remind people that I could have easily took the bag and apologized at Showtime and just, just done that, what I could have done that. But instead, I basically gave him two middle fingers and said, nope, I'd rather not get paid. I'd rather not get this money. I'd rather not be paid. And I'd rather, keep my dignity. So I think people realize I mean, the people with a half intelligent brain. I mean, I know a decent IQ is very rare these days, but especially in comment sections. But I think if you put my whole body of work together, I think people realize that the exposing this information was genuine, and has nothing to do with me being irrelevant or me if they offer me a job I would change my tune. Some people may go to when I signed with PBC after I had been talking bad about Al Heyman back in the day, but then there's an explanation for that too. I was going to stay at Golden Boy, but Golden Boy never pushed for the broner rematch. When I won, I went to Ukraine. I brought Golden Boy a world championship, and then when it got taken from me in the broner fight in a controversial fashion, my promoter is supposed to get my back there and push for the rematch. Instead, they did not. They did not, and I realized loyalty is kind of doesn't matter here when it comes to this kind of business. So I was like, okay, and Heyman did offer me the contract at that time, and like I said, had Golden Boy pushed for the rematch and tried to get me that rematch, I would have probably stayed with them. But instead, it was like, okay, since this just every man for himself, you got to survive in this business. So I went that way, But that was only because Golden Boy didn't get my back and trying to acquire me that rematch that I thought was deserved and also would have made logical sense. But in terms of this, like I said, I mean, I think if you go to when I had the Showtime situation, if it was about money and it was about being offered a job, I mean, I walked away from a job for not bending to the rules. So why would I bend to the rules to get a job? It's the same. It's essentially the same kind of thing. Showtime was on that level. Was that kind of network where you want to work for them, and if you're going to be a sellout, you'll sell out to, to work for a network like that. Obviously, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't obviously do this. But again, as I said, I think IQ, even an average IQ, is probably rare in those kind of comment sections, but it is what it is, But yeah, so I think that's my explanation on that part of it. But that was the gist of the energy I got from the feedback I got from that video
I
last
think
week, Mostly
people
positive stuff.
calling you out to do it for attention don't know you, because it's more, yeah, because
No,
this
it's
is
not.
a
It's not that
3-year-old
they don't know me.
article.
It's not that they don't know me. I don't think, because most people, even the people that talk positive about me, don't know me. I think the people that call me out for attention, or people that would do that for that, it's mostly, like I said, they have no character. They have no balls. They have no spine. They could never imagine themselves, turning down money, or turning down anything like that for principle, on the basis of principle and integrity. They could never do that because they have no balls. So because they have no balls, they can't imagine somebody who does have the balls to do that. And so this is why they automatically call somebody out, call things out like this. So I almost can't blame them, because that kind of thing, I always tell you, like when I used to talk about Conor McGregor, that's genetic. You either have character or have balls, or you don't. You know what I mean? And when you have no balls, you can't even imagine what it's like to be someone with them. So that's I don't even blame him. I honestly, I don't, and it wasn't really the majority of comments. The majority of comments really were favorable, and some of them, like I said, were enlightened by some of the information I brought out. And that's all I was doing. I was really just, wanted the opinions of people based on this information, because, people are going to have different opinions of it, but I'd rather put the information out there. I think it's interesting to put it out there. And then when you put the information out there, you get a lot of opinions, you get a lot of people talking about it. And, you'll make comparisons like I did. I made the comparison with the Kinahan thing and TKO now, because it's a genuine comparison for similar situations, for TV contracts. But anyway, like I said, the update today is Ari Emanuel walking away from Endeavor. That's an interesting one. Because does it change anything? It's possible. I mean, obviously Endeavor continues to exist, but Emanuel was a big part of that sort of a tripod, I guess,
I mean, for me at least, this league hasn't even started yet, so
Yeah.
what? These aren't the signs of anything good, or
We'll see. We'll see.
that's a bad way to
I said,
phrase it.
Jimmy, like I said, I've seen these kind of situations in similar fashion in the past, where it's like, where it's basically, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, people like this. They came into the business. Their entrance is always with a big splash. Their entrance is always, a lot of cameras, a lot of flash, because you want to make like, hey, I'm here to stay. I'm here to change the game. And this is going to be a big deal from now on. It's a new era. They've always brought that kind of thing. And I think with TKO, that event is going to be Canelo Crawford. I think they're going to have the same thing. But like the other people that came in the business with these big splashes, what really counts is not the big splash you bring. That's obvious. Everybody's going to do that when in that position. The big splash is, are you able to maintain through the test of time in a business that eats these kind of people up for breakfast? And we saw how Jay-Z and 50 Cent ended up in their venture in boxing. Not good. They were laughed off. So, Canelo Crawford, I undoubtedly think, is going to be a big, big deal. They're going to come in with a big splash. But because I am in touch with the business for decades, and I understand the history of these kind of things, to me, it's going to mean absolutely nothing. It's going to be an interesting event. Sure, we'll watch it. It's going to be a big splash. It's going to make a big scene. They'll talk about how it's a new era in boxing. They'll do all the usual things. But like I said, it means absolutely nothing until the test of time passes.
I guess my whole confusion came with the difference between Riyadh season and TKO, because Canelo's on the Riyadh season contract, but it's not exclusively TKO, or was it
Who's on the
Canelo?
Riyadh season?
Canelo's
Yeah,
contract.
no, I think, like I said before, it seems like, and we'll find out obviously as things progress in this thing, but it seems like there will be certain kind of guys that will be their shiny objects, that sort of and because they have those kind of guys signed, they'll use them to attract the younger generation, the younger stars to sign with TKO, because you say, oh, you see your favorite fighter, or you see the star there, and it's like, oh, they're with this stable. I want to be with this kind of stable too, and young people are, usually, they're usually, what's the word I'm looking for? They're easily influenced, So I think when you sign these kind of guys like your Canelos of the world, it'll do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess that's where so this article is brought to your attention in the news of all this. It wasn't thing you dug up just because
The
you
Ari
wanted
Emanuel
attention. Yeah. Or all this
or,
and
or the
in general
Guardian?
with Dana joining and with Ari Emanuel leaving, it's all been kind of a flood of
No, I mean,
events.
Ari is in the last couple of days. Ari's like fresh news. The Guardian article was, yeah, I said it was 2022, so
Yeah.
obviously it had to be dug up, but it was brought to my attention. It was sent to me. Um, but yeah, dude, like I said, I've already explained to anybody who thinks that it was for attention. It's like I said, those kind of people have no balls, so they could never understand what it's like to walk away from money for the sake of integrity. You know, they don't have any. So you can't obviously understand. If you don't have integrity, you have no integrity for free, let alone you turn down money for integrity. So people like that, I can't even blame them for having those kind of thoughts because they have no balls. I can't make you feel like what it's like to have balls. You don't have it. You know, you're lesser than me.
But
So you're gonna have that kind of opinion.
you're not going to blame a fighter for signing with them, though.
No, a young fighter, no. I mean, I would hope they're smart enough, but of course, I know some kids are gonna get influenced into signing with them. Of course, you know, it's like that's gonna happen. You know, I blame the established fighters signing with them though, yeah, because you're being used to suck those guys in, to suck the younger fighters. I blame the established millionaire fighters for signing with them. Those kind of guys, yes, because you're looking out only for yourself and not the benefit of the sport. But of course, Canelo's been that kind of guy for a while. You know, he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. You know, and he's made those kind of moves constantly. He'll steal your money to fight a cab driver on pay-per-view and not feel bad about it. You know, so did it surprise me that he signed with them? Absolutely not. You know, but I think those kind of guys, yes, they're more guilty of basically selling out. I mean, essentially, in reality, that's what it is. They've basically sold out. But the younger fighters, no. I mean, they don't know any better. You hope that they can make smart decisions. I believe the bigger promoter power players in the business will remain, so you can sign with them. And I think that's the traditional boxing route with good contracts. If you're a top amateur, there's going to be good contracts for you with those promoters too. And I think you're basically under a better umbrella to be protected.
And you're still going to watch the fights, correct?
I
Or
mean, I think we're all going to watch.
yeah.
Boxing is boxing. I think
These are
we're all going to
questions I
watch.
have to ask, you know?
Yeah, of course, if it's accessible,
Mhm.
sure. I mean, I think we'll all watch. And like I said, I mean, the fighters deserve the support regardless. You know, they're
Yeah.
young kids. You know, looking to still chase their dreams and chase their goals. You know, like I said, I think you know, doesn't matter really. I mean, I was watching Jay-Z and 50 Cent shows. I mean, does it matter? Eventually, it breaks down, and then it goes away if it doesn't hit. So we'll see if it hits.
All right, well, let's get into some actual boxing. Oh, last thing. Do you have any plans to go to Saudi Arabia anytime soon? People are worried.
Um, no plans for the Middle East. No,
Even if Turkey say he wants to buy Paulie TV for
no,
100 mil,
no, no,
and
no,
we're
no.
doing the
I doubt,
fights.
I doubt Turkey is gonna care about Paulie TV. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's just our little clubhouse over here. You know, it's
Um,
it's something I do. It's something I do as a hobby.
well, here's the one thing I wanted to ask you. With him owning Ring Magazine and
Mhm.
them putting out stuff, I just don't believe. It's just hard for me to believe any like when they're putting out rumors. I'm like, isn't this directly coming from His Excellency or whatever they call him? That's where
Um,
I'm a little confused where those rankings matter now. He can just dictate those, right? But they've never mattered.
yeah. I mean, Golden Boy used to own Ring Magazine, but I think they were pretty hands off about it. I think the media
Okay.
writers in Golden Boy weren't too influenced. You would hope Turkey can do the same thing and then just leave it to be. Here at boxing at Pro Box TV, um, we own boxing scene, but we are separate from boxing scene in terms of we don't have any influence over the writers. As a matter of fact, the writers have criticized Pro Box TV fighters, and they were criticizing Lamont Roach before the John Davis fight, and so on and so forth. So, the writers have a mind of their own. We want it to be organic in the media. So, you would hope Turkey does that with Ring Magazine, but I'm hearing rumors that it's not the case there. At boxing scene, you can see that it's the case because, like I said, boxing scene at times will even criticize things that Pro Box TV does. So I think
Speaking of great
you'd
event,
like you'd like
great.
to leave it, yeah, you'd like to leave it organic, as organic as possible, at least, and that way, but Turkey's anything but unbiased. I mean, he was not allowing the boxing scene reporters to even come to his events and cover the fights. He was not allowing the boxing scene. So, I think with Turkey, it's you're either talking good about him or he doesn't want to accept that kind of media. It's a bit of elitist, a bit communistic. Um, And yeah, I mean, you wield your power in that way. But again, all that's going to do is alienate people. I don't think that's going to help people because again, the media has to be open market in a sport, especially in a sport. I mean, it's not like we're dealing with real
Yeah.
politics where
Yeah.
the danger should be to that level. I mean, I think even in real politics, the media should be free, but it's not obviously. But in sports, really, you're going to take it that seriously? So that's the thing.
Yeah, that I mean, I don't have any plans either. And after doing my whole dig that day, texting you, oh, that's who MBS is.
Mhm. That's
uh,
his hip hop name.
yeah,
NBA.
I was like, oh, so we don't have any plans going to Saudi Arabia, you guys. Don't worry. That's I just wanted to address those. Or Paulie
Yeah,
does not.
yeah.
Let's get to Fundora Booker. Do you remember episode 1, Paulie TV, what you said about Fundora against Mendoza?
What did I say?
You said he could have gotten up and that he didn't dig down. What'd you see from him responding in terms of responding after a big knockout like that? That was our first episode of Combat and Copy, actually, not Play
Oh yeah.
TV. Yeah.
Um,
You said
No,
he could have
I think
gotten up.
Fundora is what he is. He's very he's a very fun fighter. Right? He's gonna be because he's tall and he could easily be a boring fighter, right? For those one of these tall guys who just makes it awkward and it stinks out the joint. But instead he fights at short range despite being tall. And he's awkward. You can't box him traditionally, and that's what I think Booker went wrong. He tried to box him traditionally, and you got to kind of come outside of your style and fight him the way Lubin tried, even though he wasn't successful. And we know the reason Mendoza was able to catch him and knock him out, right? Booker, a pretty good little fighter, but he tried to basically box in a traditional way against Fundora. You can't box a 6'7", 154 pounder in a traditional way who was a lefty. It doesn't happen. And so I don't think Booker had a plan B. It was a strategic reentry fight. Booker's a pretty good fighter, so it's not like there's an egg on Fundora's face for fighting him. But of course, that's not the kind of fighter you're expected to keep fighting. But unless you're Canelo, then you can fight those kind of guys every fight you want. But Fundora, I think, will now step up to a bigger fighter, a bigger name fighter, a more difficult fighter. But I don't think it was the worst fight in the world as far as you have to re-enter after a year off. You had you broke your nose in the zoo fight, and I think that really allowed him to make a statement, and now there's going to be a demand for other fights.
How do you get past that Fundora jab?
Fundora's jab isn't even that good. I mean, you watch Tim Tszyu. You just Fundora does not fight like a tall fighter. He fights at close range, and he likes to, bang, and then so he's very hittable. Getting past the jab is not your problem with Fundora. The problem with Fundora is everything else. He actually knows how to fight
Really?
at close range despite his long arms and despite his big frame. He knows how to fight at close range very, very well. He reminds me in that way a little bit of what Diego Corrales was, back in the day. He was a tall fighter who preferred to be on the inside and fight on the inside, and then could make space for the short uppercuts and short hooks. That's one of the things Fundora does well. One of the things he doesn't do well, I think his jab should be better. But it's even when he tried the jab against Tim Tszyu, I mean, Tim Tszyu was coming over the top constantly, hitting him with right hands, broke his nose. It wasn't until Tszyu got cut that Fundora was able to take advantage of that fight. So that's what makes Fundora interesting. He's a 6'7" guy who doesn't really have a great jab. He tries to use it at times, but he's a 6'7" guy who fights on the inside. And for that reason, he's fun and interesting to see. And I think however long he lasts, I don't think he's here for a long time. I think he's here for a good time. And I think it's going to be fun to keep watching him until somebody else knocks his block off, which I think is only a matter of time. But I think he's a good fighter. And I think guys like that are good for boxing.
And that footwork at that height, are you impressed? Because that impresses me after seeing that Pro Box main event. That was kind of what I noticed in that main event was the dude was way bigger than the other guy, but his footwork was awful.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think again, Fundora's not one of these guys who's a footwork guy. He's one of
Really?
these guys.
I'm
Yeah,
noticing the wrong shit then.
Yeah, Fundora's. He like I said, he's more of a middle to close range fighter at his best. He's not going to be on the outside boxing and all this other stuff. You may see it at moments, but I think Fundora's temperament is also to fight, to put hands on you, and so in trying to put hands on you, he also gets hands put on him. But yeah, in the pro box fight with Lester Martinez, I think Lester Martinez, by the way, is going to really enter the fray soon, if not now. After that kind of win, he's been continuing to be impressive. He's got a very high knockout percentage at super middleweight. Guatemalan fighter. I don't think there's ever been a Guatemalan boxing world champion. So he might be the first. He's ex-Olympian and a top amateur. Really, really fun. And I think Joshan James really had the wrong approach. He was staying way too low for the height that he is. that he's at, and had his left hand down while dipping down low. And I think that's why Lesser couldn't miss him with the right hand. That'll be another fun guy to watch. Speaking of fun fighters, it's a good
That
transition.
was my mom loved it.
Yeah,
I got
Lesser will be fun. I think he's also another one who's kind of beatable, but he's world class like Fundora is, and he'll be fun while he lasts. I think he actually may hit a little harder than Fundora as well. Lesser's a pretty solid puncher.
So the WBC ordered Fundora versus Zayas. You've been a big Zayas supporter for the last few years.
Interesting. That's like actually a pretty good fight, because I think I always wondered how Zayas enters the fray in a very tough weight class, because there is just one killer after another in this weight class, man.
Every episode we're talking about it.
And I was like, as good a prospect as Zayas is, can I say he's even ready? I don't even know if he's ready. It's crazy, like it's like this tough weight class. But Fundora slipped through the cracks, and he's actually beatable, but fun. I think if there is a way for Zayas to slip in there, it's actually fighting Fundora. It's not an easy fight. I mean, the fact that Fundora is kind of like the softer touch out of all the top 154 pounders is crazy, because that's not a soft touch at all. That's a tough dude to deal with. And the fact that you could say Fundora is actually the softest touch maybe out of the very top 154 pounders, goes to show you just how tough this weight class is. But if there's one way to go, I guess for Zayas, that's the chance. It's not going to be easy, but I tell you what, it's going to be fun, because Xayas is fun to watch. Fundora is fun to watch. It's going to take some digging down. Fundora obviously digs down. I think Xayas it's going to be a little baptism by fire. But I think Xayas has a chance to win that fight. But at the same time, so does Fundora. It would be a tough one for me to pick. It would be a good fight.
Fans are 61% on Fundora's side, 39 Xayas, but the comments are all saying Xayas is going to give Fundora a boxing lesson.
Yeah. I don't know about whole boxing lesson. I think it's a tough fight, but I could see Zayas winning. I mean, it's not like it's out of the ordinary. I think Zayas is a good fighter. Like I said, this is just a tough weight class. This is a tough weight class to the point where there's going to be times where weight classes are so tough that really good fighters don't win world championships. It's just the generation that they come along in. I've seen some of these kind of guys. Andre Darrell, Luke Campbell. Very good fighters that I thought were very good fighters that never won world championships. They came around in a time where they were very difficult to deal with. Darrell's world championships attempts were at Carl Froch and James DeGale, lost to very good world champions. Luke Campbell's championship attempts were against Lomachenko and Jorge Linares, very good world champions. It's like sometimes you just come along at a tough time. And you may be a really good fighter who's of the championship medal, but you may not win it because you came along at the wrong time. Zayas is in danger of that, I think, for sure. There is a tough weight class right now. Zayas is certainly, for me, championship material, but because it's a difficult generation, I don't know if that's a guarantee that he will win a world championship. He is championship material, though.
That feels like the premier matchup at 154. That's the one I want to see the most, at least.
What?
Zayas Fundora.
Yeah, I'd want to see Zayas Fundora too, but for me, the premier guy at 154 right now, after what I saw him do to Tim Tszyu, is Bakram Murtazayev. I mean, he looks like a bitter bee of a 154. So I need to see more of him to see if that's what he is, if he's the real deal, or if he's going to be, But just like Bitterbeef, I think he's also going to be avoided. I don't know. He's the IBF 154-pound champion. I know Erickson Lubin's in an IBF eliminator May 10th on ProBox TV. And I know if Lubin's able to win that fight, he becomes a mandatory for Murtazayev. So that's another kind of a litmus test for Murtazayev, is just how much of a destroyer he is, because Lubin obviously is a good fighter, but he's a guy that Fundora beat. And he's also another very good fighter. He's one of those fighters that I'm talking about. He's championship material, but he's never been a world champion. So and against Murtazayev, we're going to see if Murtazayev continues to be the real deal, or if Lubin can knock him off. But first, like I said, I want to put the cart before the horse. Lubin has a May 10th IBF eliminator on ProBox TV in our main event that night.
Do you have any follow-up for the fans in the comments you've been saying surrounding everything the past few weeks? Do you have any other follow-ups or?
No. I'm just as curious as a lot of people, and I'm just trying to put out information. I actually enjoy the dialogue and the sometimes fans also make some good points. I know there was one comment from one of the fans that made a really good point about this league, saying it's not going to benefit so much the up and comers because it's going to make them at risk, but what it could benefit is the guys on the way back down, like the fading stars, because those contracts for fading stars ain't bad, where like you're kind of falling out of the money, but you're sort of kind of hovering around the money, and your name is representative enough that the league may pick you up. And then that money could still be good considering it's that point in your career. And you bring some relevancy to the league because you already have sort of a name because you're kind of a fading star, but you're not totally faded. So I thought that was a very good point. Like
Like a
for example,
Spence.
Man, Spence's name is big and he's at PBC, but like for example, me later part of my career, like me later part of my career, this kind of thing might have fit in good, where you're kind of guaranteeing yourself some decent paydays while hovering around, but you're not exactly world class anymore. You're just you're probably top 20. You're not top 10 anymore. You're top 25. You're not top 10 anymore. And I think that kind of thing allows those guys to sort of be in the money. Hover around in the money because they don't want to totally leave the money, but they're sort of falling out of the money. So this league gives them a chance. I thought that was a pretty good point. I think we could see possibly some guys like that, who end up, possibly being able to sign with them. Maybe like the guy. Maybe I don't know. I could think of, if you think of a decent name, maybe like a Josh Buatsi, for example. He's a match runner. He lost to Callum Smith. He lost in Callum Smith. He's still a pretty good fighter, but like after waiting for his big opportunity, he finally got it. And he lost. He's still kind of hovering around. He's an ex-bronze medalist, And there could be some other guys, There could be, I don't know. Think about like a Joe Smith, former light heavyweight champion. He's still kind of mid-range active, ex-world champion. Those kind of guys. When that comment really made me think, I was like, oh, that's actually a smart comment. So, that was something. That was something intriguing. So, like I said, I enjoy the dialogue. There's things that we're still going to be curious about.
That's why I'm here. Like, if anybody questions why I'm here to connect you guys with Paulie. We tried on the live last week. I want to thank everybody for hopping on that.
I appreciate that live. We're stuck on the 10 in traffic for 72 hours straight, I thought,
You know how long it took me when I came with my mom on a
Oh,
Saturday?
no.
3 more hours.
Dude, that's crazy, bro.
I know.
For a 15-mile ride in LA, bro. Was it 15 miles, 10 miles,
No,
16
60.
miles?
It was 60.
Oh, 60.
Went to San Bernardino. No, it's fine. I showed my mom boxing the first time this week.
She enjoyed it. She had a good time.
Oh, she's like a fan. She had no idea people go for date
nights. By the way,
I
gotta say, Regina Chavez was absolutely one of the worst decisions I ever saw against Jasmine Ortega in our TV opener. That was one of the worst decisions I ever saw, male or female boxing. That was unbelievable. Boxing is so backwards. This kid is 20 years old, good looking, can fight, and really like easily won the fight, I thought. And they robbed her.
What? We were walking. My mom was so.
Nothing on the other side made sense.
That was the first fight we walked into. For anybody you guys don't know, I brought my mom, who's always been kind of weird with fighting, to this boxing event. My brother was supposed to come. He went to Hawaii. Paulie got me tickets. It was awesome. To the pro boxing event. We walk in. We're watching this whole fight, and they're chanting Chavez like she's winning, and she gets the decision. I'm like, my mom got the first taste of this is boxing.
Politics, yeah. What politics? I'm still struggling to understand because the more marketable, younger, better-looking fighter, better fighter, also got robbed. There was actually no reason. I sometimes I struggle to figure out why certain robberies happen. Usually, you can kind of figure
on the broadcast.
Out.
What were you and Chris discussing after that? I was so confused.
We were blown away, and it's just, I don't know, bro. Like I said, there's usually a reason that you can kind of put your finger on, even though it's not right, about why somebody gets robbed. That one made no sense at all. That one was like absolutely,
something I got to tell you off air that that I think I have a theory on theory on that. Is there anything going on with Pro Box?
No, I mean Pro Box. We're in Philadelphia. We're gonna be working a show in Philadelphia April 5th. We're gonna do something in near DC at the casino in Maryland on April the 12th. We got on April 5th, we got Nicholas Flaz, a very, very good welterweight, Puerto Rican welterweight and an IBF eliminator. If you have not seen Nicholas Flaz, he is just the word flow. I mean, he has been very, very impressive. But on Pro Box, you constantly get tested. So he's fighting Gabriel Maestre, who's only 6-1, but he's got like 1,000 amateur fights. One of those kind of guys, very world class guy. And so it's another tough fight on Pro Box in our main event. Nicholas Flaz and Gabriel Maestre. I think people will really enjoy it. And then on the 12th in DC, we'll also have some good shows. For anybody that doesn't know Pro Box TV, we were Wednesday night fights, but this year now we're on Saturday nights, 2 Saturdays a month, or sometimes 1 Saturday a month. It'll depend on the month. But yeah, that's our next shows, April 5th and April 12th on ProBox TV.
And keep coming at us, guys. We're gonna try to do more combat and coffees. Keep coming at Paulie with some
Yeah.
questions. It's
Yeah.
great to dialogue.
And remember,
let's
there's
keep-
also Ennis and Stanionis. I don't know if it's the 5th or the 12th.
Yeah.
I think it's the 12th. That's a big welterweight fight. That's probably the biggest fight the welterweight division can make right now. So I think it's really interesting because on a night where Stanionis and Ennis changed the direction of the welterweight division by the top 1 and 2 guys fighting, Flaws the week before, I think has a chance to enter the fray more with if he's able to impress against Maestre, which is not easy. That's not a guaranteed win at all. So if Flaws can impress again, and then we get a winner for Stanionis and Ennis, who knows? Maybe one or both of those guys move up to 154. The welterweight division is kind of barren, kind of looking for a star. I feel like Flaws is very marketable and it can be a star. And it's Puerto Rican to boot. I mean, he barely speaks English. He's Puerto Rican to boot with a really fun style.
Well, I'm excited to see Boots back, and
Yeah.
this is it's an eliminator matchup, or it's not for the championship. It's for the
what? And Ennis and
Stanionis?
Boots are Flaws. No. Stanionis and Ennis is a
IBF.
world championship
IBF
unification.
World, IBF
And
World
WBA. Stanionis has a WBA title and Boots has the IBF title. That's a unification. That's a unifier. But with Flaws is in an IBF eliminator the week before.
I got Stanionis confused with the guy that Crawford fought that you announced a few years ago.
Kavaduskis.
Yeah, similar
Or
names.
Avanesian.
Yeah, I don't know
No,
why.
Stanionis is a risk fight. This is a tough fight. This is not an easy fight. Yeah, this is a very tough fight. This is going to be a violent one. It's going to be a fun fight.
Oh,
and that's the same night we're in DC. So hopefully we're off the air early enough so that I can watch Stanionis and Ennis as well. Because at ProBox, we're supposed to go off the air before the big main event. But on Saturday night with Martinez and Joe Sean James, we were not off the air before the Fundora fight, and I missed it. So hopefully we're off the air before Stanionis and Ennis, so I can watch that fight too.
All right, Paulie. Well, I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. And you're come at us, or come at Paulie.
Whatever you want to talk about, I'm trying to be more active here with the channel. Like I said, it's been a fun hobby, and I enjoy the dialogue. And let us know what else you've got in mind. All right, we'll see.